and it was a 33 unit mobile home park for 1.12 million. And the NOI was $192,000. So right off the bat, it was a 17 cap. I'm like, man, what is, like, something's not right here. This is a crazy deal. Like, what's wrong? And dude, I just started to poke holes in this deal for 5 days, like calling, asking, research, everything. I was just poking holes in this deal, and nothing came back bad. Like everything penciled out. Even if things went wrong, they penciled out. Man, this is an amazing deal.
Right. What was the mindset shift for you as a realtor, shifting and being like, wait a minute, this investing thing is way sicker. I'm going to make way more money. I'm going to actually become financially free. I'm not going to have what's basically a job. I'm going to actually own a business. What was the mindset shift? How'd you realize, like, my God, I've been doing this wrong the entire time?
It comes from frustration of doing a lot of work and not getting paid a lot. I'm sorry, but real estate agents do not make a lot of money. I mean, they do. You definitely can make a lot of money. And there's a select few people out there that consistently make six figures a year, and they'll make six figures a year for the next 20 years. That's just how it is. They'll get referrals, they'll get all that stuff. But sorry, I just read that comment that came up. So sorry that got
No,
me.
thank you. We're talking about realtors, why you would.
So go ahead again. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good. We were just talking about realtors and like why, what was like the mindset shift that of like why you were, why, like how you switched from becoming a realtor to an investor, and what in your mindset were you like, wait a minute, this investing is just way better.
Yeah, from agent to investor. Yeah, so really just frustration from, you have to go through this physically, like to experience this. If you're showing a buyer a house and you're working with them for 6 months, and you've been emailing these people, you've been texting them, you've been putting in so much time and effort, and then, something happens and they go, "We're moving to Florida actually." And then you're just like, okay, well, that last 6 months of work that I've put into, that revenue is gone now. Or sometimes, you go to an open house and, you can get a client from an open house and then they're a cash buyer and it closes 2 weeks later. But that stuff never happens. The reality is the home buying process, the home selling process, it's so messy, so that you're constantly like dealing with some of the worst and best situations in these people's lives constantly. And so I would have like 6 or 7 in escrow, and I would have these situations with these families. These people are getting married, having kids. And so it's like managing all these people's emotions. It's a lot, and I enjoy it and I was good at it. But, when I flipped my first house, it was $107,000 in 7 weeks, and so that will turn some heads, and then when I did that, flip my first house, I was like, man, this investing side is crazy. Like you can make this in this short amount of time, and you don't got to deal with, death, divorce, stuff. You don't have to deal with these crazy situations. Right. I like this investing thing a little bit more. That was kind of how it started to transition. And then really from the flippings, because I thought people who flipped were so cool. Like, that's amazing. You can flip a house. I thought that was amazing. But then you start to realize flipping's good. It's a great business. It is a job. It's great, great money, but it's not always going to be there forever. You'll have market shifts like we're in right now, and you can't flip a house. And then, as you start to work longer and longer and longer, and you're like, man, I'm not really getting anything long term from this stuff unless I buy a rental property, right? I'm not really getting paid for my efforts in the future. If I sold a house, I would get one commission check, and then maybe potentially something in the future would turn into like a referral or something like that. But you can't bank on that business. I want to get cash flow every single month to pay the bills, to pay our lifestyle. Like, referrals, future equity, all that stuff doesn't pay the bills. Cash flow pays the bills. So then it was like agent, flipper, rental properties. It was like those 3 phases. And I loved all of them and learned a lot through all of them. But I'm telling you right now, if I started doing rentals at the start, I would probably be over like 400 units right now. And I'm probably going to get there in the future, but I would have had a hell of a head start. But yeah,
Makes
that's what I would
sense.
say.
So here's my view. I'll give my opinion on rentals. So like I'll
Yeah.
give you a little bit of background on me because you don't know me that well. I mainly wholesale. That's like my main business model. I own a handful of rentals. I own like three right now. And then I've done a few flips. I am not a fan of flips in comparison to wholesaling personally.
Yep.
I just like I'd
Yep.
rather have a smaller check but be sure I'm getting paid instead of necessarily losing money. Right? Flipping in this market, especially, I'm like, you people are crazy, but I will get you the house and sell it
Yeah.
to you. Right. But my question to you, because this is my issues with my rentals, and maybe you can educate me on once you start getting more to scale, because you have like 38, I think I saw something like that. How many rentals are
Yeah.
you at?
38 right now, closing on another 22 next Friday. So I'll be up to
Oh, hell yeah.
60.
Like a multifamily one?
Yep. 22 unit single family portfolio closing next Friday, seller finance, zero down, 3% interest, by the way.
Love it. A seller
Yeah.
finance deal. That's awesome. We'll talk
Yep.
about that in a little bit.
We
But
absolutely.
yeah. So my issue so far has been like, for instance, I have a rental in Georgia, right? I'm cash flowing for like 2 years. It was great. Got me like 10K in cash flow. But then the tenants left it a complete mess and it took about 10K to rehab it. So
Yeah.
effectively, I'm at zero, right? The only thing that's making it a really good investment in my head is the tax benefits and the appreciation that's happened over the past 2 years. So
Yep.
I'm really curious your opinion on that. It's like, how much can you live off the cash flow? Have you been dealing with it? Does it change when you get to scale? Because like I'm just interested in the sense that at least the ones I've owned so far have been mainly that, which is like an issue.
It's a great point, and this is something that I'm still figuring out, by the way. I mean, I've done very well, but I'm by any means not an expert in rental properties. And each single family deal is such a specific deal, location. Like it's so important for single family. It's a lot of work into one deal and it's one check. That's the big risk of it, right? And then it's a kind of another transitionary period into single family to multifamily. The scale, the risk factor, everything, it's much more different. But yeah, personally, I again, I'm not going to get probably a lot of good comments about this or a lot of good feedback, but I really do not like single families. And I own, a duplex in Washington, three single families here in Phoenix. We have another one that we're purchasing, and then I'm going to buy another portfolio. But the portfolio is the value, not the single family house in the portfolio. It's the collection of them, the price, the cash flow, everything that comes in there together. But single family is risky, man. It's, right now to cash flow on a long-term rental with a single family house is damn near impossible, especially if you're putting 25% down. It's going to be hard to cash flow. You're talking about less than $500 a month on a single family home right now. And, if you can lock something up seller finance where you have a much bigger spread than that, that's a different story. But to physically go out there on the MLS, buy a property, put 25% down, 8.5% debt, you're not going to cash flow right now. And you can do Airbnb. Airbnb is very flaky. Again, we have a couple. They're doing extremely well right now, thank God. But we're looking at other models like Pad Split. We have a Pad Split going on right now in Scottsdale. Amazing house. That's something that we can probably talk about maybe this episode or in the future. But single family, you have to be creative. You have to be extremely creative in single family to make it
Yeah.
work right now. If you have something with long-term debt, it's going to do well and it's going to cash flow. I have a duplex in Washington right now that I locked in about 2 years ago into 4.25 debt. And that's fixed for 10 years and I'm never going to sell it. Never going to sell that until, that 10-year mark, which who even knows what life looks like 10 years from now? You know what I mean? But I'm never
Yeah.
going to sell that deal because of that debt. Now, would I buy that same deal today? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I would never buy that deal today. But 3 years ago or 2.5 years ago, I would buy that with
Do you
four
mean
and a
because of
quarter
the
debt.
interest rates you wouldn't buy it?
Yes. Yeah.
Gotcha.
That the interest rates are really affecting the investor market. I mean, the Airbnb market here in Phoenix, it's a blood in the streets. There's a lot of Airbnb guys that are not doing well right now. So you have to pivot. You got to be extremely creative. You got to find these different strategies. And so Yeah, that's my opinion about single families, man. To be honest with you, they can work, but man, you got to work for that one paycheck from that deal.
It makes sense.
Um,
All my rentals, they're sub twos, all of them, and
oh,
that's
see,
why
there
they
you
all go
go.
to work. They're all at like 3% interest. I had to put like 25K down, which was like usually like 5% down. So
Yeah,
that's why I don't know. That definitely traditionally, if you're buying houses,
yeah.
okay,
Single family with sub two and seller finance. That is the best way you can ever buy a single family deal. The
yeah,
worst way is to do traditional. And
yep,
I've done the traditional burrs and refied into 4, 5, 6% debt, and they work. But those traditional burrs, you cannot
at
do those
8.
anymore. You have to find the wholesaler guys like you. And by the way, I forgot to mention this. I love the wholesale business. I did not have respect for you guys at the start because I was like, man, these guys are
Because
making
you're a
so much money
realtor.
and not doing anything. Yeah, and I came from a realtor background, but looking at it now, if I had started at 22 years old wholesaling and buying seller finance sub two deals and multifamily deals, focusing on rental properties, man, I don't even know where we would be right now. But you live and
So
you learn, and that's just kind of how life works. Obviously, as well. If you started all over again, you'd probably do things 10 times different, right? But it's really valuable learning those lessons. Like from that single family deal in Georgia, you've probably learned so much from having that deal for 2 years. You know how to talk to a tenant, you know how to collect, like
yeah.
you learned so much from that you wouldn't have had before if you didn't buy it you know so
No, 100%. Yeah, you learn lessons as you just keep doing stuff, keep trying stuff, and having all of that stuff happen, right? And just like you're saying right now, it's all a learning process. You got to try it. You'll screw some stuff up. You'll do some things really well. Like I've got the wholesaling really down. My business is really, really good on the wholesaling. But then, like even buying sub twos and buying seller financing, sometimes things fuck up or screw up. They screw up. I was like in contract for a really nice deal in Denver. It was a lot down. It was like 80K down, but it was
yeah,
3% interest, cash flowed probably like 800, 700 a month as just a long-term rental. And we were
yeah,
thinking possibly pad splitting it, which we can do a quick intro into that if you want. I've never done a split, but I really like the business model. But what are your goals right now? It sounds like, are you just trying to go into multifamily now? And if
yeah,
so, like when do you feel like you should get out of the single family world? This is like a personal question because I'm sensing
yeah,
it might be a good idea for me. It's just
yeah,
harder for me to find those multifamily deals in comparison to those. Like it's easier for me to find a sub two or seller financing for a single family than it is for a multifamily. So I'm going to
yeah,
ask that question and I'm going to go into
yeah,
that and then also ask about the 22 unit portfolio deal and how that came to be.
yeah. So I will eventually in the future sell probably all my single family rentals in the future at some point. Now, if that's going to be 10 years, 15, 7 or 3, I don't know. I have zero clue, but I am not going to hold single family long term. If it's a decent little package, I'll probably package it and sell it to an investor or like a small hedge fund or something. But I don't have enough single families right now to really do that. I have a 33 unit mobile home park and the 22 unit single family portfolio that we're closing on next week. And I will tell you this, dude, doing that deal, doing the 33 unit mobile home park deal, the numbers on it, the cash flow, the just the overall scale and the ease of the property management company and everything, that is, and this is going to be out on a limb, that is the easiest deal I have done in 6 years of being in the business.
Interesting.
And after you do that, you're like, your eyes kind of get open. You're like, man, I'm doing all this work for one paycheck with an Airbnb. It's one house, one paycheck, one direct deposit, per month. It's a lot of work for one. But when you have 33 people paying you one paycheck or, one check or one rent check or whatever, your risk factor just instantly goes down. If 5 people left tomorrow morning, we would still be cash flowing multiple $1,000s a month. So, but if the same thing happened on the Airbnb side, we'd be screwed for 30 days. We would have to come out of pocket and pay the mortgage. So
Right.
I just look at risk. I look at, time and risk, because after a certain amount of time in the business, you start to value your time, and you don't want to be strung out by every single person, get on every single phone call, answer every single email. You start to value your time after a while. And for me, seeing that 33 unit, that 22 unit, putting the finances together, putting the private money together for it, and actually, and they're both not stabilized too. They're cash flowing extremely well, or the 22 unit is going to cash flow extremely well with private money. Same with the 33 unit mobile home park. First month was incredible, and once it's stabilized, it's going to be night and day. But again, it just ties into the risk factor. There's so much less risk in that 33 unit mobile home park deal, even though it's over $1 million, than my single family West Phoenix Airbnb next month. I have no clue if we're going to have bookings. I have, it's going to come in or it's going to not, God willing.
Right.
But that's the reality, dude. It's like, I just look at risk. Like, I look at that as a, brand new into the business. I would have looked at that as a more risky deal, in the single family as less risky, but it's actually the opposite. And, as much as hate that Grant Cardone gets, I've come to the conclusion that almost everything he says when it comes to real estate investing is almost 100% correct. Like, everything he says is very, very, very close to the correct route of properly scaling with the least amount of risk, the most amount of cash flow, the most upside. Like, his process, I've done it, is probably the best process out there you can follow in real estate. And he talks about this all the time. The single family into the multifamily. It's kind of the scale, it's kind of the trajectory. And so, yeah, I'd say multifamily is less riskier than single
I
family.
like it. I like it. So let's talk about a little bit of the pros and cons too, though, because when
Yep.
people see less risky, they're like, but Garrett, isn't it like millions upon millions of dollars more? So I want you to
Yes.
get into the 22 unit because it's a seller financing deal. How did you find this deal? How did that come together? I really want you to talk about that real quick. Let's talk
Okay.
about that real quick.
I'll try to make it short and sweet because it is a really long story, but I'll try to just bullet point it. But
Sure.
essentially, I have been looking for this type of deal, because basically my goal was to get enough cash flow to pay for all of our expenses every single month, and then our lifestyle on top of that. And with these deals, we've hit that, by the grace of God. Thank you so much. And it's been amazing. But the I've been looking for this for a while. This did not happen overnight. It was actually an MLS deal that my broker sent it to me, out of state broker, and it was a 33 unit mobile home park for 1.12 million, and the NOI was $192,000. So right off the bat, it was a 17 cap. I'm like, man, something's not right here. This is a crazy deal. Like, what's wrong? And dude, I just started to poke holes in this deal for 5 days, like calling, asking, research, everything. I was just poking holes in this deal, and nothing came back bad. Like, everything penciled out. Even if things went wrong, they penciled out. Man, this is an amazing deal. So I ended up locking it up because I'm like, man, this could be it, and finding hard money right now for multifamily deals it's unbelievably hard because there's so many scammers out there. There's
Right.
tons of stuff, right? And we can't even get into that. We could talk for an hour about all that stuff. But I locked it up and got it closed with a private money lender that I know. We cross collateralized one of my other rental properties in Washington and basically purchased it cash at 13% and interest only for 10 months. And so closed on that, and built really good rapport with the seller. That was the thing. Kind of the secret sauce to this whole deal was building amazing rapport with the seller. And over the years, going on listing appointments with middle-aged people, I have done that, And so the seller's awesome lady. She was retiring out of the business, built great rapport with her. And I just told her, look, like, this is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to build cash flow for my family. And, this is my goals. And we just kind of hit it off. And so the crazy part was we closed on the deal. It was with brokers and everything. So they got paid and, all that stuff. And and it wasn't in Arizona, so I couldn't use my own license, or in Washington. It was in Alabama. And so we got it closed and everything. And she emails me about a week after the transaction. And she goes, "Hey, I obviously sold you my mobile home park and everything, but I also have a single family portfolio like right down the street." And that's the vicinity to it. So there's the 33 unit. And then about a mile down the street it's two neighborhoods backed up to each other, two streets. And it's every single house on those two streets. And she goes, "Hey, I'm potentially interested in selling you these. Do you want to buy them?" And without even talking, without even looking through the numbers or anything, I said, "Absolutely, 100% I will buy." And so, commit first, figure it out later. Another Grant Cardone thing. And so we're closing on that. And really, she said tax reasons why she didn't want to receive a large sum of money. Because I even talked with my private money lender. I'm like, "Look, we can get you like 50,000 down, or 100 or 150 or whatever it is. We can cross collateralize and put that money down to you to give you some cash in the bank." She didn't even want it. She got the $1 million from the deal and was super happy and excited. And so basically we did a 0 down seller finance deal, 3%. And I'll eventually cash her out in the future, but she wants to defer those capital gains into next year. So she said, pretty much anytime next year, you can cash me out. And so at that time, I'll either bring in private money and cash her out, or I'll just refi with long-term debt and cash her out. But the benefit is building rapport, closing on the deal, and then getting the market deal with no real estate agents involved. And she gives me an amazing price for it. It's essentially the same type of deal, but this one I'm actually buying at a 20 cap. So it's 22 units, buying it for 782,000. Don't know why that number is, but that's the number she wanted, 782,000. And the NOI is $156,000 in the last 12 months. So crazy deal. Again, crazy cash flow deal. She probably could get a little bit more for these, but I built such good rapport that she's not going to go anywhere else,
So that's a
And
really interesting thing to me. I want to ask about this because
yeah.
it's funny, I mostly get most of my wholesale deals is through agent outreach. That's like my calling
Okay.
card. I have trouble building rapport with sellers when the agent was the one that built the rapport after the deal is done.
Yeah.
How did you feel like you did that? Like during the process, did you like tell the agent, "Hey, I want to talk to her," or like what happened?
They were very, it was a Marcus and Millichap traditional commercial broker. They're very put together, very professional, but they're not getting deep. They're getting wide. They have a lot of contacts and stuff, but they're not getting deep with people. And so I went deep with her and found out her why, found out about her family, about her goals, about just everything. They say the 5 things to build rapport. This was one of the Keller Williams trainings that I had back in the day to build rapport with sellers. 5 ways you can build rapport with sellers. It was faith, family, goals, dreams, aspirations. It's like those things. If you talk about those 5 things, you can get some of these sellers to talk to you for hours. Faith, family, and I forgot the other ones. But those are questions, those are topics to build rapport with sellers. And so if you can do it properly, you are going to get better terms than other people. And you're gonna start building so much trust with these people and if you're just upfront and honest. And I've always taken that route from the start, because I've noticed that when I was brand new, saying I was brand new built me more trust than these other people, that are just all flamboyant and all that stuff,
So real
just
quick,
being
because I want to get
upfront
into
and
it.
honest.
I want to get into really my question is like, so when you were buying it, at some point were you like, "Hey, I need to talk to the seller," or what? Like, I'm just curious how
Oh,
you even got
oh,
in contact with the seller.
right. That was not a smooth process. I will say that. The broker did not want me to talk to the seller at all. That's kind of a unwritten rule.
That's been
You
my
know,
problem too. That's why, because I would love to make relationship with these sellers and have them keep sending me deals. But anyways,
yeah. That's, looking back on it now, to be honest with you, I do not know how I actually got the seller's phone number and started talking. And Patrick, the broker on it, who actually I'm on his buyers list and he sends me deals now and stuff. As soon as because I told him, I was like, "Patrick, this is an amazing deal. I want to get you paid, but I just want to ask the seller some questions and just, and so it was kind of like that. It kind of was, hey, I want to talk to her about this, or hey, I want to ask her about this, or I have a question about her, her profit and loss for February of last year and the capital expenditures she spent that month. Can you dive into that, or can I just call her and talk to her on the phone? you know and these guys with 20, 30, 40, 50 deals in escrow, these large commercial brokers, do they want to make that phone call and ask the seller for an explanation on that, or are they going to just send the number to the buyer? And I was the squeaky wheel, and I got the seller's phone number, started talking with her, and that's kind of how it started. But he was not happy that I was talking to her from the start. It took multiple conversations to build trust with the agent that I wasn't going to try to snake him out of the deal. And that was the big hump, really, was getting over the agent not trying to control the entire deal, because really me and the seller could have done the whole entire thing, but she already had it listed, so we got the agents paid and we got all this stuff paid out, but the 22 unit, she kept that quiet, and I'm assuming she was probably going to do it with any buyer that would have bought it, not just me, because she didn't want to pay the real estate commission. She didn't want to pay 6% on almost $800,000, and I don't blame her, right? And that's even coming from an agent, saying that. But yeah, that's kind of how it happened. It was a couple tough conversations, and then I got the phone number and built trust and rapport with both, and sayonara and history after that.
I love it. I love it so much. So we're getting to the end of
Yeah,
the podcast, and I want to make sure I'm like keeping track of your time and all of that. But I have one
yeah,
last question I always ask everyone on
yeah.
these podcasts, and that is, if you could go back, you kind of answered this, but I'm curious if you have another answer. If you could go back to Garrett right when he's starting out in real estate investing, what would you change? Either starting in real estate investing, or you can say just starting in real estate in general. What would you change knowing everything that you know now? What would you tell your former self, your 22-year-old self?
Man, it'd be a long conversation, I'll tell you that. It would be really,
Love
really
it.
long. There's a lot to unpack, but I would say the main thing, the bottom line, is you got to get direct to seller on everything, on a listing, on if you're on the buy side, if you're on the investing side, if you're on the wholesale side. Getting direct to seller is like the highest top line revenue thing that you can do in real estate, in my opinion. Getting direct to seller and really understanding truly how to invest, and knowing the risk factors of each different type of pillar of investing: Airbnb, pad split, long-term rental, midterm rental, seller finance, sub-2, BRRRR, all those strategies have their own pros and cons, and just really understanding that risk factor would be huge for a brand new person in the business. And that just comes really from years and years of experience, I hate to say, but you guys, you have to put in the work for this stuff. This knowledge just doesn't happen overnight. If you do this, you're going to understand and learn so much more by doing it yourself than just watching a YouTube video. You have to take massive action in the business to get the results that you want. But I would say really focus on getting direct to seller, because if you get direct to seller, you can buy it, you can flip it, you can wholesale it, you can long-term rent it, you can do whatever when you're direct to seller. There's so many options. There's so many spokes on the wheel. So getting direct to seller is huge. You either pay a wholesaler 20,000, 30,000, whatever it is, or you get direct to seller. You pay for that marketing. So I would say get direct to seller, um, bottom line. And then number two would be focus on investing, and unfortunately not getting your license. Cancel your license and just focus on investing. That's what I would say.
I love it. I love it.
Smack them upside the head.
Garrett's trying to end my wholesaling business right now by getting all the flippers to go direct to seller. But my man, I appreciate you so much for coming on. Where can people reach out to you? Is there anything
Yeah.
you want to promote right now? What are your socials? All that good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for having me on. You can find me on any social: Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, at Garrett_Terrell. And really, right now, you guys, like, it's a crazy point of life that we're at right now. Like, all of our bills and everything is paid for every month, so it's a new period for us, but it's amazing, and we're very thankful for it. But really, right now, I'm looking to build relationships with other investors and private money lenders. I even made a Facebook post last week about a pad split deal. And, I just asked for, hey, I have a deal and who wants to lend money, essentially. And I had like 30 something comments on it, and legit got 8 private money lenders who have actually told me that they are going to pledge money for said deal. Um, so, 8 private money lenders off of one Facebook post. I was like, man, something's kind of here. People that are rich don't want to do the labor for this stuff. So they're fine with paying money. They're fine with paying 40 grand, 80 grand into a LP position. And this is obviously very high level stuff. You're not going to do this brand new
Right.
into the business. But after a while, like the point that we're at right now, I'm looking to talk to private money lenders and other investors and wholesalers. Obviously, love you guys. I've bought so many deals from wholesalers, and some of the best deals that I've bought have been from wholesalers. As much as that kills me to say, they've been some of the deepest discounted deals that I've ever purchased was from wholesalers. Some of my best flips have been from wholesalers as well. So yeah, that's what I would say to that.
Love it. Awesome. I just want to really quick talk on this. Ethan said, "Can you teach me real estate? I want to do my first deal. Do you have any coaching program? What should Ethan, it sounds like you need to get him some private money if you want him to teach him something, right? Find some rich
Ethan,
people that you know to get into his projects, and then he will teach you real estate. I feel like that would be a good answer for you to that question."
Ethan is a great friend of mine, and I can tell you this, he's
Oh,
saying that
gotcha.
as a joke. He has done more deals than I have.
Oh,
Let's just
gotcha.
put it that way. We just joke about that because people always say that. They want to do their first deal, but they don't know how to. And I hope so. Whatever, dude. You've done over 200 transactions, and I think you own over 100 rentals. But so I don't have any coaching programs, to be honest with you. I do not want to spend my time doing that. I hate to say that, but that's just the God honest truth. If somebody's willing to pay me to, be on a phone call or something and give them information, I will do that. But I'm not going to spend my time doing that. Unfortunately, I'm sorry.
No,
If
no worries.
people, if people,
Plenty
can
of gurus out there, my man. Don't worry about
plenty,
it.
plenty
There are plenty of gurus out there.
message people, message all of
Yeah,
them.
I
But
love
yeah,
it.
yeah. So
I
maybe in
love
the
it
future,
so much.
but not now, my man. I'm enjoying investing and buying these multifamily deals, and that's my focus right now.
All right. I love it, my man. Do you have any last words before I wrap this up?
No, that is it. I think we went through a lot of stuff. Probably could have went another hour, but uh, we went through a lot of good stuff. Somebody's going to get some value out of that. If you just take action from today's podcast and just take action, you're going to be that much farther ahead than the other guy that's watching this that's not going to do anything tomorrow morning. So
I
that's
love
the
it.
reality.
I love it. Guys, thank you guys so much for coming on. Next week, I forgot who we have, but obviously it's Thanksgiving. So I think it's going to be on Tuesday or Wednesday, the podcast. Remember, guys, the week after Thanksgiving, I'm going to do a live. I'm going to do a live event. Go to the link in my bio in my Instagram, everybody. If you guys want to come and be in my office, I'm going to become an act manager for a week. I'm going to show you guys exactly how my virtual office works, how we get like 100K plus per month. So if anyone who's watching is interested, go do that. And Garrett, thank you so much for coming on. I'm going to end this right now. Scorch the fears. Let's freaking go.